Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. So it looks like the next part of the Twitter files just dropped, as you can see here on screen. This is the Twitter files part 6. Now, of course, there's been a lot of drama developing here over the last couple of hours on Twitter. They banned a whole bunch of journalist accounts. It looks like the majority of them were liberal journalists. So pretty much, the left is up in arms and accusing Elon Musk of being some sort of tyrant and a hypocrite for banning these accounts and silencing them. And, the whole reason behind this seems to be that, apparently these journalists were revealing Elon Musk's location. And, this led to an incident where apparently one of Elon's family members was, stopped out in public in his vehicle because somebody was tracking him. And so it looks like they thought it was Elon. And this person that was tracking the car, thought it was Elon. So he jumped out and jumped on the hood. And Elon was saying that, this was a danger to his family and that he wouldn't be allowing what they call it doxing on the platform, which is let's say, I going on Twitter on my account and constantly tracking your location every time you go to the store or wherever you go in public. I take your location live and I keep constantly updating it on the social media platform for all to see. Of course, you can imagine, how creepy and how much of a threat that would be to yourself if anybody was doing this to you. Of course, there's a whole bunch of people discussing whether this is legal or not. There used to be public phone records in the United States where you could look up people's addresses. But again, it's not like the phone book was constantly tracking your location everywhere you were going. The problem with this is that we do live in an evil world, and there are people that want to cause you harm. And if they know where you are exactly all the time, they can plan an assassination around that or something. As crazy as it sounds, we see all of the crazy stuff happening in the world. So it's not surprising that Elon, being the owner of Twitter, having the power to take action, actually did. Even though he said, he wouldn't ban this account that was tracking him, he did end up banning the account and also the person that was controlling the account, their personal account also. And so it looks like apparently these reporters had something to do or were reporting on Elon's location and they were banned. However, it looks like they're only going to be banned for 7 days according to Elon, who said that, being away from Twitter for 7 days will do the soul some good, which is pretty hilarious. Again, did Elon catch himself in a bit of hypocrisy? Yes, he did say he wouldn't ban these accounts or these type of accounts, and he did after seeing the the risk that it actually poses. Overall, again, it is private. It is a private business. People don't like to hear that argument, but it is a private business. And according to law, you have the right to do business with who you want. So if you open up a shop, that is your shop. You own it. You paid for it. You have freedom of speech. And you can pretty much do business with whoever you want. If there's a certain person who you don't want to allow in your business, who you don't want to do business, the government can't force you to do business with that person. And that applies to big corporations. Now, whether you want to make an argument that, a corporation of this size, of this influence, steps outside of those bounds, well, that's another topic for another time. Personally, I don't believe that, it's any different. That is the whole, point of capitalism. Of course, you can have a monopoly. Would I say that Twitter has a monopoly on information? I wouldn't say so, but it's definitely it's definitely the topic of discussion right now. It is the closest thing we have to a public square It does facilitate a public discussion, especially with our modern day technology and the access to cell phones. So it is a very powerful tool, but I don't see the laws changing anytime in that respect. The closest or the best thing you could do is to make another platform, if you don't like the rules that this one has. And, Elon, instead of doing that, decided to spend billions of dollars to buy this platform. And so eventually, his ideology and his way of looking at things is going to, take part in the decisions that he makes. And, of course, that's going to upset a lot of people. In this case, especially the left, because Elon tends to, agitate the left a lot more than he does the right. But of course, with all of that going on, we also have these Twitter files that Elon has been releasing. Pretty much all this information that was kept secret before of the pretty much the interactions and business that Twitter was having with government officials. So we found out through the Twitter files that Twitter was in fact censoring certain accounts and shadow banning them actively. So they were actually putting restrictions on certain accounts. A lot of these accounts were accounts of people, that aligned with the right political ideology. Of course, we saw Trump get banned famously, and so a lot of things were taking place behind the scenes to reach these decisions. But it looks like, Twitter does have the ability to stop the spread of information or the amplification of certain tweets and things like that. They can put restrictions so that this information isn't shared. And that's exactly what these Twitter employees were doing. At that time, the majority of Twitter employees were liberals, right, in the political spectrum. So it looks like they were doing a lot more favors for left-leaning politicians or political agencies than they were doing for the right. So, surprisingly to no one, Twitter tended to lean left on the political spectrum. But of course, Elon bought Twitter, and now he's revealing all these things through the Twitter files. And just right now, I have the next installment of the Twitter files, part 6, where essentially, Twitter is revealing that Twitter was working with the FBI also to certain accounts and information. So what does all this come down to? It just means that the government has their hand in social media, that they have the influence, the power to ask these social media companies to silence certain people or certain information, certain news articles, and so they can manipulate the public opinion. And of course, the people doing this manipulation tend to have their own agenda. And, usually these people are the people that are in power. So whoever is in power of government of these agencies has a lot of power to influence public opinion and to restrict certain information on social media. That's pretty much what this is revealing, which, essentially is a corruption of freedom of speech. It is a controlling of information, of public information, and it is very insidious in nature. But again, this should be no surprise to everyone that the government does have their hands in all these social media companies. However, the fact that this is implicating, government officials is very damaging right now to the confidence that the people have in government. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thread here. So I'm actually on Twitter right now. You can see here that Elon Musk or Twitter is choosing to release these threads through certain people here. So we have Matt Taibbi. It says here, the Twitter files, part 6, the FBI Subsidiary. The Twitter files are revealing more every day about how the government collects, analyzes, and flags your social media content. Twitter's contact with the FBI was constant and pervasive, as if it were a subsidiary. So essentially, they're saying that Twitter was talking with the FBI so much it almost seems like the FBI was part of Twitter. Between January 2020 and November 2022, there were over 150 emails between the FBI and former Twitter Trust and Safety Chief Yoel Roth. Some are mundane, like San Francisco agent Elvis Chen wishing Roth a Happy New Year, along with a reminder to attend our quarterly call next week. Others are requests for information into Twitter users related to active investigations. So, pretty much it looks like the FBI was working with Twitter here. A lot of this stuff was, nothing nefarious, you could say. They would just ask for some information on certain Twitter users and things like that. But it continues to go on here. But a surprisingly high number of requests by the FBI for Twitter, or rather, there were a surprisingly high number of requests by FBI for Twitter to take action on election misinformation, even involving joke tweets from low follower accounts. So it looks like they're saying the FBI here was actually asking Twitter to take down some information it considered misinformation. So the FBI was calling Twitter, asking them to take down certain posts which were lies, according to the FBI, which is again an infringement on freedom of speech, right? Of course, you have all these false news. One person says one thing, another person says another, but if you live in a society of freedom of speech, like if you were actually to apply this, like why isn't the FBI shutting down certain newspapers that are putting out misinformation, right? Because they can't, but it looks like these Twitter employees, because they aligned with the political ideology, they were actually doing the FBI these favors. So that's pretty corrupt. The FBI Social Media Focused Task Force, known as FTIF. Okay, I didn't even know the FBI had a social media task force. That's crazy. Created in the wake of the 2006 election. Okay, so it was created right after the 2006 election. Swelled to 80 agents and corresponded with Twitter to identify alleged foreign influence and election tampering of all kinds. Federal intelligence and law enforcement reach into Twitter included the Department of Homeland Security, which partnered with security contractors and think tanks to pressure Twitter to moderate content. It's no secret that the government analyzes bulk data for all sorts of purposes, everything from tracking terror suspects to making economic forecasts. The Twitter files show something new. Agencies like the FBI and DHS regularly sending social media content to Twitter through multiple entry points pre-flagged for moderation. What stands out is the sheer quantity of reports from the government. Some are aggregated from public hotlines. We have a picture here of FBI from El Paso who tweeted, "Election day protocol for FBI headquarters is to stand up a national election command post which provides a centralized location for assessing election-related threats. Status reports and complaints are tracked." The Twitter files continues here. It says, an unanswered question. Do agencies like the FBI and DHS do in-house flagging work themselves or farm it out? You have to prove to me that inside the effing government you can do any kind of massive data or AI research, says one former intelligence officer. So again, we also have a picture here of an actual message from the FBI asking Twitter to take down these accounts here. So it says, hello Twitter contacts, FBI San Francisco is notifying you of the below contacts, which may potentially constitute violations of Twitter's terms of service for any action or inaction deemed appropriate within Twitter policy. Fred, FBI, San Francisco. So, we have evidence here of the FBI directly contacting Twitter and sort of insinuating or implying that, hey, this account is pretty suspicious here, we're just the FBI, we're just letting you know. Take a look at these accounts, you know what I mean? And since these employees tended to be liberals, they were like, oh, sure, yeah, we'll definitely take a look. Let's just go ahead and ban them, or, let's shadow ban them. Let's keep the account on Twitter, but let's limit its, its ability to spread information and its and the ability for other people to see that information. So, it all comes down to manipulation. The government was working with Twitter in order to manipulate public opinion. Yeah, you can go and read the rest of the Twitter files here. They are pretty extensive. So it definitely looks like the FBI was working with Twitter here to, censor certain accounts. Let's read this one here, number 29. It says, another internal letter from January 2021 shows Twitter execs processing an FBI list of possible volatile content tweets. Okay. Number 30 says, here too, most tweets contained the same get out of there and vote Wednesday trope and had low engagement. This is what the FBI spends its time on. So again, there was a lot of propaganda here, by these people in its manipulation of all this information, and it's definitely very alarming. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I know this was a pretty long video, but again, this is, it's surprising to see these revelations after Twitter pretty much denied all of this, and seeing the government, being involved in all of this is also pretty alarming for, free speech. You can just imagine everything else that takes place, not just in the U.S., but internationally, all the manipulation of news and things like that. Again, this is all because there's corrupt people in power, and, that's really the problem of all of this, that we live in a fallen world, and, these people just want to do things that are going to benefit them, and they're pretty much just trying to save their own skin. And, I'm sure if we were actually to find out what actually takes place, how deep the corruption goes, we probably wouldn't believe it. But yeah, there you have it, guys. Make sure you give the video a like, and make sure you subscribe for future content. And again, remember, the truth is stranger than fiction. Have a wonderful day, and God bless.